Chicago rapper, who goes by Young QC, was reportedly doted on by his mother, Yolanda Holmes. Decided to have his mother killed to get his hands on her insurance policy.
She was sleeping when it happened, a pillow beneath her head, the television still flickering. Her front door was unlocked, just like he told the man it would be. He knew exactly where she'd be, which bedroom, which side of the bed. One shot was enough to kill her, but he pulled the trigger again, just to be sure. The man who ordered her death wasn't a stranger. He wasn't a jealous lover. He wasn't after money from the register or something in the safe. He was her son, her only child, the same boy she raised alone for over 2 decades. The same boy she celebrated birthdays with, cooked for, prayed for, defended. The one she called her king. His name was Carmaine Wilson. Online, he went by Young QC. He called himself a rapper, an entertainer, a rising star, but the reality was far more ordinary. A stalled music career, a small following, and a growing resentment that what he thought he deserved never came fast enough. He could have worked harder. He could have walked away, but instead, he made a choice. He chose money over blood, attention over loyalty, and death over patience. This wasn't random. It wasn't impulsive. It was planned, deliberate, cold. After the hit, he emptied her bank accounts, bought flashy clothes, threw money in the air on social media. Then he posted a tribute to her online, like the rest of them. He cried at her funeral, said he missed her smile. But behind that grief was a secret. Behind that hug to her friends was a lie. Behind that calm voice was the man who put the plan in motion. What turns a son into a killer? What leads a 23-year-old to orchestrate his mother's murder while pretending to mourn her? This is not just a story of crime. This is the story of a betrayal so personal, so calculated. It shattered a family and left a city stunned. In the heart of Chicago, inside a quiet third-floor apartment on Montrose Avenue, a woman was murdered in her sleep. There was no break-in, no forced entry, no signs of struggle, just a body, a phone, and a single mother who wouldn't wake up. Her name was Yolanda Holmes, 45 years old. Known for her bright smile, her loyalty, and the way she made people feel like family. She owned a successful salon. She raised her son by herself. And she worked every single day to give him the life she never had. To neighbors, Yolanda was the kind of woman who remembered birthdays. To clients, she was more than a stylist. She was a friend. To her son, she was everything. The community mourned her like family. Her friends wept in disbelief. Her son cried on television, begged for justice, and said he would do anything to find out who did this. But the deeper detectives looked, the more things stopped adding up. The phone records, the money trail, the behavior. What started as a tragedy began to feel like something else entirely. And when the truth finally came out, it left even the most seasoned detectives shaken. A son, orchestrating the death of the mother who gave him everything, not for vengeance, not for survival, but for fame and fast money. And he nearly got away with it. Yolanda Holmes was born and raised in Chicago. She knew hardship early, growing up on the West Side, surrounded by struggle, but grounded by family. When her son Carmaine was born in 1989, everything changed. She poured herself into motherhood, took a job, then another, then opened her own salon on the North Side. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers. Clients came for the cuts, stayed for the conversations. Some said being in her chair felt like therapy. But behind the steady smile, she carried a lot on her shoulders. Carmaine was her only child. She raised him alone, gave him what she never had, shoes, clothes, and attention. But as he got older, something started to change. He stopped calling her mom, started calling her Yolanda, started flashing money online, talking big, rapping louder. She didn't always understand his world, but she kept supporting him. I'm gonna be famous, Ma. You'll see. Everybody's gonna know my name. Online, he called himself Young QC, but there was no record deal, no concerts, just rented cars, stacks of cash, and a handful of followers. Yolanda tried to be patient, but friends said she was worried about his temper, his obsession with attention, the company he kept. She confided in co-workers after long shifts. Sometimes she'd just shake her head and say, "That boy don't listen to me no more." In the summer of 2012, something changed. Carmine began asking about her finances, insisting she make him the sole beneficiary of her bank accounts, telling her he needed control for business reasons. What if something happens to you? You gotta think ahead. Yolanda agreed, maybe reluctantly, maybe just wanting peace, but it would be a fatal mistake. What she didn't know was that he had already begun planning. Quietly, carefully, in the weeks before her death, Carmine contacted a man named Eugene Spencer, a low-level associate, a man with a gun. The deal was simple: break in, kill her, and get paid. He said, "Make sure my mama dead." That's what he told me. September 2nd, 2012, the night before Labor Day. Yolanda was home alone, getting ready for bed. The apartment was calm, quiet, ordinary. At 4:35 a.m., Eugene Spencer was buzzed into the building. The door wasn't locked. He made his way up the stairs. In his pocket was a gun. In his mind was a promise. What happened next took less than 60 seconds. 2 shots to the head, 1 to the chest. Yolanda never had time to scream. Spencer ran out the way he came, down the stairs, into a car driven by Carmine's girlfriend, Loriana Johnson. They didn't say a word. Chicago police arrived within the hour. No signs of forced entry, no known enemies, and no immediate suspects. It looked clean, professional, like someone had studied her routine. It wasn't until they pulled her phone records that the cracks began to show. Within 48 hours, Carmine emptied Yolanda's accounts. He withdrew thousands, bought designer clothes, got a new car. Then he posted a video, smiling, laughing, throwing cash into a crowd, shouting, "This is for my fans. My mom would want this." Detectives were watching, and they started asking questions. 3 months later, he was arrested, along with the gunman and the getaway driver. The case that began with a mother's death had now become something no one expected, a son at the center of it all. At first, Carmine appeared to be just another grieving son. He posted tributes online, said he was heartbroken, said he'd give anything to have her back. But police noticed something off. He cried for the cameras, but behind closed doors, he wasn't asking about the investigation. He wasn't calling for updates. And according to Yolanda's friends, he wasn't showing up for her funeral planning either. Detectives brought him in for questioning. He was calm, almost rehearsed. He said he'd been asleep during the time of the murder, said he didn't hear anything, that he and his mom were close. But then came the first contradiction. When asked how the killer got in, he said the door was always locked. Except it wasn't. You're telling me you don't know how someone got into a secured building, but also that your mom always left the door open. It didn't make sense. Then the family started talking. Yolanda's cousin told police she was worried weeks before her death, that something about Carmine had changed. She said, "If something ever happens to me, it's going to be my son." I told her not to say that, but she said it like she meant it. Police wrote it down. That was the first real turning point. They pulled Carmine's phone records. It was all there. Dozens of calls. Late-night texts. Including one, the night Yolanda was killed. 4:57 a.m., Spencer to Carmine. Done. But when police opened his laptop, everything changed. What they found wasn't just disturbing. It was chilling. Search history. Payout calculations. Lyrics about death and revenge. But one folder was different. Inside were photos of Yolanda, sleeping, sitting on the couch, eating dinner, taken from distance, unaware, tracked. When confronted, he barely reacted. He said they were for a tribute project, that he was documenting his mom's last year alive. But she didn't know she was dying. Did she, Carmine? No answer. In the days after Yolanda's death, Carmine didn't just grieve. He capitalized. He posted video after video of himself throwing cash into crowds, renting luxury cars, calling himself the realest rapper in Chicago. And every single dollar came from her life insurance policy. Forensic psychologists were called in. They looked at his behavior, past history, online footprint. Just ego, an overwhelming hunger for validation. It wasn't just about money. He wanted to be someone, to be seen. And when the fame didn't come fast enough, he took matters into his own hands. Former friends said he always exaggerated. made up stories about being in the music industry, talked about his haters trying to stop his rise. He started saying things like, "If my mom dies, I'll be rich. Real kings don't answer to no woman." Friend quote. I thought he was just talking crazy. Didn't think he meant it. But when detectives listened to the jail phone recordings, they realized he wasn't finished. Even from behind bars, Carmine was plotting. He called Loriana, told her to delete things, told another friend to hide a second phone, tried to shift blame, claimed Spencer acted alone, that he was framed, but every call was recorded, every lie added to the case. By the time the trial started in 2019, prosecutors had what they needed: money trail, call logs, surveillance, a full conspiracy. The defense argued he was misunderstood, that Spencer acted on his own, but no one believed it. The jury left the room. The court fell silent, and Yolanda's family waited for justice. It was the early hours of August 23rd. South Side, Chicago. The city asleep, but inside one apartment, footsteps echoed on linoleum floors. The key had been stolen. The lights were off. The killer already inside. Yolanda Holmes was asleep in her bed, her satin scarf still wrapped around her head, her phone charging at the nightstand. She never saw it coming. Prosecutors would later describe it in chilling detail. Eugene Spencer, then just 22, walked into the bedroom, gun in hand. Carmine had told him, quote, "Make sure she don't make it." She woke up, just long enough to scream. Then a flash of light. One shot. Yolanda staggered, already bleeding, and fell off the side of the bed. Spencer moved fast. He beat her. He stabbed her. Again and again. Blood soaked the sheets. Her lamp knocked to the floor. The last thing she saw may have been her own son's sneakers, left in the doorway. Detectives said the scene looked personal. This wasn't just a hit. It was an execution done with emotion. The killer didn't flee right away. He walked through the apartment, took her keys, rummaged through drawers. Carmine had instructed him to take her car too. The BMW parked outside. What police uncovered next stunned everyone in the courtroom. Carmine hadn't stayed home like he claimed. He was parked nearby, waiting. The phone call came in at 4:57 a.m. Spencer's voice. "It's done." Carmine replied with a single word. "Bet." Later that morning, a family member grew concerned. Yolanda wasn't answering. Her phone went to voicemail. They arrived at the complex, and what they found shattered them. Blood, silence, her body on the floor. The woman who raised her son alone was gone. She was just 45 years old. Detectives worked quickly. The signs pointed to a forced entry at first, but nothing was taken. No signs of robbery, just a clean, brutal attack. And then came the moment that cracked the case open. A neighbor's security camera. It showed Spencer walking up the sidewalk, minutes before the gunshot, and Carmine texting just seconds after. They traced the weapon back to Spencer. Fingerprints on the doorknob. Shoe prints matching a pair found in Carmine's closet. Phone pings confirmed it. Spencer was in the apartment at the time of the murder. Carmine was less than a block away. He never lifted a finger, but he didn't have to. In January 2020, the verdict came down. Guilty of first-degree murder, of conspiracy to commit murder, of hiring a hitman to kill his own mother. He showed no emotion, no apology, no words. The courtroom didn't erupt. It just broke, like the silence Yolanda left behind. Yolanda Holmes was buried just 4 days after her murder. Her children wept. Her mother barely spoke. Friends stared in stunned silence. But Carmine Wilson didn't grieve. He performed. The day after she died, he uploaded a video to YouTube, a freestyle rap filmed in a luxury car. In the lyrics, references to betrayal, loyalty, revenge. That same week, he emptied her bank accounts. In court, the evidence left little doubt. But what shocked the jury wasn't the how. It was the why. Carmine had his mother listed as the primary on a $90,000 life insurance policy. Prosecutors alleged the motive was simple. He wanted her gone, so he could cash in, so he could become a rap god. "I love my mother, but we had issues. She wouldn't let me live how I wanted. She was controlling." The defense tried to claim emotional abuse. They painted Yolanda as overbearing, but the jury didn't buy it. The texts were damning. Carmine, handle that tonight. Spencer, she gonna scream? Carmine, just make sure she gone. Yolanda's mother took the stand, her voice trembling. She wasn't perfect, but she loved him. She gave up her whole life for that boy, and he took hers like it was nothing. The public reaction was intense. In local media, Carmine was vilified, but online some fans still defended him. Some said it was fake news. Others said she must have done something to deserve it. Even in the face of overwhelming evidence, there were still those who refused to believe his son could do something like this. Eugene Spencer pled guilty and testified against Carmine. He said he was promised money. He said Carmine made it sound like business. He broke down when the 911 call played. Yolanda's last breaths, her final screams. For some, Spencer was just a pawn. For others, a willing weapon. But no one argued about Carmine. He orchestrated it. He watched it unfold. And then he flaunted the money. January 31st, 2020. Sentencing day. The judge looked Carmine in the eye and called him, quote, cold, calculated, depraved. He was sentenced to 99 years in prison. Eugene Spencer received 100. You planned her death like a business transaction, but that woman raised you. And in the end, you took the one life that gave you yours. The apartment Yolanda once lived in now stands empty. Her business closed. Her memory left behind in photos and police records. Her 2 children now live with relatives. Her daughter still refuses to say his name. The hardest part for the family? Not just the murder, but the betrayal. The questions that will never have answers. Was this always in him, or did something in him break? Narrator, low and final. How does a son become the killer of his own mother? Was it greed? Was it ego? Or was it something deeper? Something too broken to ever be understood? In the end, the money didn't matter. The music stopped. The cameras cut. And Carmine Wilson, young QC, was no longer the star of the story. He was the villain. She raised him on her own, built a life from nothing, shielded him from the streets, paid for studio time when no one believed in his dream. And he thanked her with a bullet, with silence, with a plan so cold, even his accomplice would later say, it felt like I was erasing a stranger. In the weeks after her death, detectives found something buried in Yolanda's iCloud backup, something they didn't expect. A draft message, never sent, just 4 words typed into the phone's notes app. He's not my son. Was it a metaphor, a figure of speech, or something else? Detectives never found a clear explanation. But in her final days, friends said she had been distant, paranoid, as if she sensed something was wrong. Did she know what was coming? Did she fear him before the night he took her life? The answer may never be clear, and maybe that's what makes this case linger. He chased fame. He bought followers. He flaunted wealth that wasn't his. But in the end, all that's left is a story we still don't fully understand. A mother lost, a son in chains, and a nation watching, still trying to make sense of it. Was this the act of a calculating monster, or a young man poisoned by the illusion of celebrity? And if money and fame were the prize, was it worth her life? A mother loved him. A community trusted him. And he threw it all away for an image, a track, and a dollar amount. Now he sits in a concrete cell. No mic, no crowd, just the echo of what he did. You've heard the story. You've seen the facts. But the truth, that's for you to decide. Do you think Carmine Wilson always planned it? Or did something inside him finally break? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you know someone chasing the wrong kind of fame, share this story with them. Because some lights shine just long enough to destroy everything around them. He had the world at his feet, but that wasn't enough. Not for him, and not for the darkness inside. This wasn't just murder. This was betrayal in its most chilling form. Do you think Carmine Wilson always planned it? Or did something inside him finally break? This story left more questions than answers. If it struck a nerve, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more true crime that hits this deep, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell.